then we're going live on Facebook now. There it is. It went live on Facebook. So we are live officially. Say hello to the world. Man.
So we're live.
Yep. Say hi, world.
So I'm gonna share this. What I gotta do is follow the Existentialists on Facebook.
Mm-hmm. And just find that live video, and then we could share it. Yeah. See, the way the sharing options come up for me, I can't share a watch party. That's ideally what I want to do, but it's not letting me. So you could just share to the public.
Because you're the host?
I have no idea how this works sometimes, but hello everyone. If you're tuning in, I'm about to jump into conversation with a friend of mine, West Englewood resident and a father, a grandfather, a young man who I know I want to talk about the arising civil unrest in America, in Chicago, in our local neighborhoods. So right now, just give us a moment. We're going to dive into this conversation. We want to party.
Yeah, I'm still looking for the share option. So I'm gonna share now my page. I shared it like a regular post. Is that okay, or?
Yeah, you know what? Yeah, just because like I have trouble doing what I want to do too. So yeah, just sharing it like a regular post works.
Yeah. Sorry, man. I wish I could have done my. I do the party.
I had the technical difficulties too, but so if you want, you could keep that window open as well. That way you can see.
I could see you.
Yeah, that way you could see me, and if some of your viewers ask questions, we're open to Q&A here. We love to take comments here at the Existentialists. So it's always encouraged to keep those windows open. Me, myself. Hello, viewers. Thank you for tuning in to the Existentialists. My name's Tony B. This is my friend, Luis Aldair Rafael, a community member of West Englewood and a father who I had met a couple years back. Was it about 2 years at this point? Luis?
Yeah, you went to Morton, right?
I did go to Morton. I went to Morton East. I went to Morton College.
Okay, I don't think we have classes together. But I think I knew people who knew you, and one way or another, this was a small town, but I knew of you. But I think I had like I sent out a message, have coffee with you or something. I don't know, maybe like 2 years ago.
Okay. All right, we're about to get started, everyone. Thank you for tuning in. Please feel free to comment, share, ask questions, engage. This is the Existentialists. Make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel, and make sure to like us on Facebook. I really want to encourage people to join the conversation. And so now let's kick it off. Luis, I invited you here. I'm really grateful that you came on. It's truly a blessing to have contributors join in the dialogue of today, right? So what we're seeing right now is a recognition that the state violence that's perpetuated in many forms, right? That's what we're going to label it. And for those listening, state violence is just this idea that the state is institutionally built in the state, the government, to harm its own citizens through different mechanisms. That state violence can happen whether it's through environmental systems, right? So the usage of fossil fuels in a local neighborhood, for instance, Little Village, right? There was a plant that was there that was using this kind of energy that was almost toxic to the neighborhood. You can think of Cicero, Illinois. You have the water reclamation district. Well, that's a good system to clean our water. It produces fumes. It produces fumes into the air, which can be very toxic. So you could think about systems in that way. There is perpetual harm being done.
That's Stickney.
And well, Stickney. I consider it Cicero. Who are we kidding? I know what you're talking. Yeah, Pershing, the borders and whatnot.
Refer to it.
You're right. I believe you're right. I believe it is Stickney. But these kind of systems exist, and people can imagine them as they accept them. There's something inherently wrong with them when they start hurting people. So police forces, for instance, well, police is deemed as a necessary evil to uphold law and order. It is essentially an acceptance of state violence. The state pretty much has a monopoly on violence. They're the only ones in this country that is permitted to be violent on the American people. If anyone else is violent on the American people, you can go to jail. Straightforward. But if the government uses violence against people, that's okay. That's state-sanctioned violence, and this is what we're here to talk about. Because with that, what is happening right now is you see the civil unrest arising. It's arising from this place of the awakening, right? The complacence to accepting that this is how law and order should work is not being accepted. The paradigm is shifting. So, let's talk about it, right? The civil disobedience. I want to start with an older event with you, Luis. A lot of people had a lot of commentary on it. It was the Christopher Columbus statue in Grant Park. People wanted that statue down. Meanwhile, Italian Americans in Chicago were vehement. They were against it. They were like, Christopher Columbus is a symbol of our heritage. We paid for that. People shouldn't have it. But others in the communities around Chicago, they disagreed. And they took a route of trying to tear it down. But before any of that happened, that's not what I want to talk about. There's footage being shown by local news networks and the CPD, Chicago Police Department, that protesters coordinated an attack on the police. So I want to see what's your perspective on this. What do you know about this situation?
Oh man. Well, I ain't no snitch. First of all, I'm kidding. So okay, so that event, I heard about it because it was actually shared on Instagram by the Chicago Teachers Union. So I didn't think much about it at first, but then I started really liking the message that was behind this. It was like a sort of coalition, solidarity, meet for Black and Indigenous people. So this is kind of some of the first time I started hearing this. And it just seems appealing. Like the indigenous movement. Because I think that's when I first got introduced to the decolonization or re-indigenization. It's a whole new topic that I've sort of been seeking, but it's sort of taking pride in our indigenous side and separating it from the Spaniard side. So, for example, my dad grew up dancing around the fire, playing flute. Didn't wear shoes until he was like way older than a toddler. Like they were like as native gets. And he also his mom would speak to him in a dialect language, and he would know how to understand it, but he never actually learned how to speak it. That was like the separation of a different generation. Now we see it where like he can understand. He could understand English, but he could hardly speak it, and there's that whole separation of generation again. So sorry, I shouldn't have so much coffee. I'm like burping like crazy, but
don't drink coffee,
pretty much.
Kids.
Yeah, especially at 6 p.m. But I think the idea of re-indigenization seemed very appealing, and seeing how I can help out in the Black Lives Matter movement. So I went, and I went right after work. Uh, but I started carrying like a first aid kit, just in case. I've been to other protests. I've seen people get hurt and better prepared, but I've always seen medics on the spot. I did take a course at Malcolm X. This was like 3 years ago, an EMT course. I didn't become a paramedic, but I had been refreshing on my just first responding classes. So I just wanted to show up and just be ready. Just if anybody needs any like bandages or any like I can stop the blood from like. And so whatever I can do to help. I definitely wanted to play like the medic role, just behind the scenes.
Definitely, and I just want to say that that's actually becoming more and more. Unfortunately, well, it's a good thing. It's become more and more common in neighborhoods on the south side, on the west side, where young people, adolescents, they're going through these first responder trainings to this trauma-focused kind of. If someone gets shot, someone can come in and help immediately instead of waiting for an ambulance that's miles away to come help. So it's great to hear, and it's becoming very common, unfortunately, right? But it's needed.
Yeah, those classes are beautiful. It's good to always have that ready. It gives you the confidence that just to be out in the world. So anyway, in a nutshell, I went there not knowing what was gonna happen. I knew that the Chicago Teachers Union was there, so I knew it was legit. I think if they endorse someone or something like it's authentic. It doesn't get any more authentic than teachers' interest. So I met up with my friend there, and I met other medics, and we were just exercising our right to protest. At a point, we did encounter police. Um, there was about, man, to be honest, I saw the police footage that they later uploaded on YouTube. Um, there was about more than 20, 30 cops around that statue. Um, and then yeah, they were ready. And as we've seen, they always expect the worst. However, during the protest, when we did have that clash, we had that clash where we were protesting, and then we had to do what we had to do to get that statue down. And that's all I'm gonna say on that. So, what I would like to say about that statue is, for anyone who sees the statue as a symbol of pride, my question is, how would you respond to someone coming into your home, raping your woman, killing your man, and claiming your home as theirs, and then
the children.
someone
The children. What are they doing with the children?
they they make them work their to their bone. They work them out to their bone, and then later on, you're forced to have a statue of that same person who just murdered your entire family, your entire lineage. So this is what we're talking about when we start talking about Christopher Columbus statues. It is the right of the people to bring down statues, and that's not just in the United States. It's been in history, right? That's always been the power of the people. It doesn't get any more iconic than that. Bringing down a statue. That's the whole beginning of a new philosophy of a new religion coming into a kingdom, right? But anyway,
well, I want to let you be able to detail this uprising, right? The thing is, I want to address because you're saying very very crucial things. I don't want to push you on what actions you saw that day and why they were deemed necessary when the cops were standing their ground trying to stop the decolonization. I want to push on the importance of that, but I want to take on to what you said right now. This statue, destroying statues, historically, when people destroy statues, that's the meaning of almost like sometimes a takeover It's destruction of history, right? So this can be seen as either destructive or meaningful. And so for some people, I'm going to push you on this. Destroying Christopher Columbus statues is trying to erase history. It's almost trying to rewrite things as if it never happened. The way that certain societies in Christianity in the past and now in Muslim societies, well, it's been historical. We can't just, I'm just going to say Muslims today only. Christians and Muslims have been doing these type of things when they take over. What do you say to those people? Like they see it as these violent actions are trying to erase history.
That's such a good question. To be honest, the only way that I can explain it then and there is I was actually thinking about this while this was happening on July 17th. When all this was happening, I saw my friends, again, just all they could do is hold an umbrella and protect the people from getting pepper sprayed, right? We're talking about stones versus spears here. It's always been like that. We had umbrellas. Well, the people in the front who have white privilege, they had their umbrellas. They were protecting people from chemical warfare. And then everybody kind of played their role. There was journalists there. There was even children there who, again, we were protesting for something we believe in. So a lot of people brought their children because this is something that they want them to be a part of history. But anyway, to answer your question, in that specific spot, I was able to connect with my ancestors right then and there. At a point, it wasn't my intention at all, but at a point, I did start feeling the blood out of nowhere. And when I started feeling the blood, I was like, "Damn, how did like this escalated really quickly?" Actually, my whole face was covered in blood, and then I touched it, and I said, "I'm brainwashed with like theology since I was a little kid." So I was like, "It's always been blood that's needed for sacrifice." But right then and there, I knew it was not about me. I knew for a fact that this was my ancestors' presence in that very same moment, reclaiming what was theirs. So it was not about me, but about my ancestors being there in the living moment, in the presence of blood. And I went on a whole trip afterwards, like on the whole, like, what does this mean, God? What does like anything mean? But it was a reminder that, again, it's not one person who's gonna lead the revolution, but rather our ancestors have been paving the way. So I would say we didn't show up to erase history, but more to rewrite history, or rewrite, I guess, the future, because it just keeps on repeating itself over and over again. So it's like the seasons. But I'll leave it at that.
No, I get what you're saying, right? It's kind of this generational battle, right? Where for years, generations and generations, there have been these people in America that have often been left to the wayside. They have been left marginalized, uncared for, and now they're coming out, right? They're coming out to do something. And for them, this means taking a stand and destroying the symbols of white supremacy. And I know you didn't say that, but that's a lot of the rhetoric that I see as sticking. That these white supremacist narratives, and not the hateful white supremacy, right? People misconstrue white supremacy as only being related to KKK and Nazism. Actually, white supremacy is a cultural dominance. It's a social force that exists, and it's kind of like in our conscience. When you grow up as a child and you don't grow up with Univision or Telemundo, and you watch these American television shows, what do you see most likely? A white character. I think growing up, there was only one channel that I had that was for Black Americans, and I think that was UPN with like Martin and other Fresh Prince of Bel-Air was on there once in a while. But that's kind of like what I hear in the narratives that are being discussed. The fears is that this rise of the use of violence to obtain the goals is frightening people, right? It's not violence used towards people, but it's violence used towards symbols, objects. People are upset that the American flag is still burned today. I get it, but you can't be Donald Trump and say that should be illegal. But the statue, however, that's something that can hurt people in a way where you try to take it down. It looks like it's going to hurt someone if you don't know how to take things down. But I don't know. What do you say to that fear of the violent part about it? Because it takes violence, and that day there was violence perpetuated on the police, whether it was justified or not. What do you think about those things?
Yeah, there's a police officer who was there, who I'm friends with. He used to be my little sister's mentor. She used to be part of the Explorers program. It's a great program. They give kids from low-income communities professional cameras to go out into the city. They take them out to like field trips and take pictures. They put them through like Photoshop skill courses. They have them present at like it was at La Cuna. So anyway, he's a great mentor. He ended up becoming a police officer, and it's harder to talk crap about an opposition when they are your friends, when you know them and you know that they mean well. With the whole violence with police officers, there was this one picture that I see him as a brother, that he posted is that he posted a picture of him carrying a fellow police officer. So it was two police officers on the side, and then the injured police officer was in the middle. I don't remember exactly what part he was hurt, but they were carrying him like from all that that was going on, like all the beatings, or I guess from that scene, and and I was just thinking, what were they fighting for? They were fighting to defend again a piece of I believe it's made out of marble, of my oppressor. But when it comes down to it, how can I say it? It's I think that it just doesn't compare. You're talking about defending a statue and risking your life for that versus, taking down an image of your oppressor. I don't think it compares at all. I don't think I don't think stones compare again to spears. So at one point, when it comes to violence, this is one of the things that I haven't really been very vocal about, but I did share once or twice with my closest friends. That day when they hit me in the head, so they hit me with this. It was a pipe that was on the floor. It was a pipe that was on the floor, and at first, when I started seeing the cops like punching people and like spraying them, I picked up the stick because I wanted to defend myself, and I said, if any cop tries to even like hurt anybody around me, I'm gonna make sure that this is my role. And I had the stick, and then once I had the stick, it's like all these like you're put in that spot, the decision making spot. So you have to be very quick at thinking. And I realized that we were outnumbered, and that I just remember that one scene when Jesus was getting arrested by the Romans, about to get crucified. Peter went with his sword and he cut off one of the soldiers' ears. He was protecting Jesus from being crucified unjustly. But then Jesus came back and put the Roman's ear back, even though he was just about to get crucified. And that's I think trying to not bring religion into this is very difficult, because again, this is how I interpret the world. So in that moment, I let down the pipe. I unclenched my hands. The pipe fell to the floor, and I said, "Well, we're here. We're is it's hard." And then I saw one person getting punched on the floor. And when I saw them, I ran towards them and I told the police officer, "There's no need to keep on punching them in the face because if you're gonna arrest them, might as well just arrest them. Punching them in the face is just, it's not necessary." And I was trying to have a conversation with this police officer. However, the police officer was very high on adrenaline. He was like in the zone. So the only thing that I was able to do is I threw myself so he could like punch my back. So I threw myself over the person who was getting punched in the face, and then that's when another of his like police officer fellows came up and like just whacked me in the head with that same pipe that I had just thrown on the floor. So with that being said, who won that battle? I'm thinking it was not the pipe. Because now ACLU is taking up this case where now they're saying, all right, we're gonna try to see if we can like bring compensation to like fellow other people who got beat up. And right then and there, the only people I was so thankful for the medics who were on the spot, the volunteer medics. They're the real heroes, the ones who were like just stitching people up and saying, all right, keep on fighting. There's a video where I had my fist up, and then just for raising the fist, all the cops started nearing or coming near me. And at that point, again, it's not because of my face. They're not afraid of me. They're afraid of the fist. I lifted up the fist. This is not a punch. This is a symbol of resistance. So the ACLU case says if we could get some compensation, I would get a piece of that. The first thing that I thought was we got to build a park. If we ever do get or see compensation, we're going to build a park in Englewood, and we're going to make it specifically a space that's sacred. But that's if we get the funding. But if we do get the funding, it just goes to show that the not hitting them with the pipe idea was kind of the best move. It's like when David battled Goliath. Like that strategy switched up a bit. So now that police officer's violence turns into a park for the kids. That's gonna be like radical and revolutionary in its own way. So again, it's not about the person throwing the punch, but it's about again the one who lifts up the fist for the whole si se puede, or the power fist, whatever. It's iconic.
So I'm definitely on board with the idea of revolutionary change, and definitely gaining wins for some of our communities. I made a video, and I know the kind of violent incidents you're talking about where someone's already on the floor and the cops are just wailing at them. There's maybe like 3 cops beating the crap out of one person that's just trying to put their knees up and their elbows up so they can protect the vital parts of their body. And the cops are just going, and I'm thinking, maybe you should just detain them already. They're on the ground. I seen someone just on a bike yelling at cops, and the cop just comes up and shoves the crap out of this person. So I've seen the footage, and I made a video. It was addressing Miracle Boyd, how she got struck. And I made this video kind of questioning. I want to get your input on this. I'm questioning the tactics here, right? Because I hear you. You're sort of resonating this idea of peaceful revolution with a mixture with that resistance of some Malcolm X in there, right? Right? People have argued throughout the times, these past decades, that there was the necessity of MLK Jr. and Malcolm X. They were part of the same struggle, even though they're like kind of opposite sides of the coin. What's going on though? I see civil disobedience as necessary to changing the paradigm. But at the same time, it worries me. Are we moving away from the MLK style, or is this just another tactic? I have a friend of mine who told me to look deeper instead of criticizing, because it's risky. It's a risky business criticizing the disobedience that is occurring, and maybe I should take a closer look instead of criticizing. And I kind of disagree. I have a history of violence, and I don't like violence. It traumatizes me. So are we moving away from MLK style? What's happening?
Uh, I think it's coming from both ways, man. I think that what we learned from the Malcolm X and the Martin Luther King movements is that it takes punches from both sides. So again, one does not work without the other. Um, so that's what we're gonna see, and hopefully this time we learn from what we have been taught. Well, when I say we learn, I'm not saying we all have to agree on this one topic, but I think the most vital uh, piece of information that we have about revolution is that, again, it cannot be one person leading it, because I could say let's do a peaceful revolution, but if you want to throw a brick at a cop car, go for it.
Wait,
Um,
are you
and
advocating for that though, or are you saying that's okay?
I'm advocating for free will, because at this point, um, again, yeah, at this point, I have to be very careful because I just caught myself doing like the whole stand up but stand by. Um,
Stand ready. Stand ready,
so
stand by.
what I'm is that the people will show up. Here's the thing: when there's a revolution, it's it's cost. There's a cost to it. It's energy, right? Uh, so after 7 days of like riots, we started seeing police officers. It was the first time I saw a police officer limping. They're all walking next to the march, and they're all limping. Well, one of them was, not all of them. Sorry. Not that I want to bring anything on like the community of people who are disabled, but what I'm trying to say is they look tired, they look fatigued, and that's the first time I've seen that in my life. I started seeing them just walk kind of like we've been at it for 12-hour shifts, 7 days straight. How long is this gonna go? Right? Like you started seeing them get tired, but with the people, some people were like it's like taking shifts. I started seeing like some friends like, oh, I can't go to that one, but I could go to this one. So it's like we have them outnumbered. So I've been thinking about this. You mentioned like which way should we go? Do we go with the Civil War, or do we not? Do we compromise? Um, Honestly, all I can say about that um, is that the art and the beauty of Civil War is the ability to prevent it. But if we must go to war, well, we must go to war, but at the same time with the philosophy that we keep our prisoners alive. There has to be humanity even in war, even in a civil war. I don't think a civil war is too far fetched. All I'm saying is that all their guns can only defend them for so long, because they're gonna have to eat.
Mm-hmm.
They're gonna have to, build community. We already have that. We're the ones who have the people. We have the community. We're the ones who are gonna keep on, investing in community farms and mutual aid. Um, and I think that it's it's a stronger weapon than just bullets
Yeah.
in the long
Yeah,
run.
so the thing that I'm really concerned about is, and I talk about this a lot, is this it worries me because there's a common trend when there is a civil unrest. It appears, and it's very likely, that the police state is going to rise. You militarize the police even more, even though they're already doing that. They have been militarizing the police. The state violence is going to get worse. So attacking the state only, especially during a neo-fascist regime, right? That's the title I'm going to give Donald Trump and his administration. It's a neo-fascist regime, and by protesters rioting being accepted as the new norm for now, as the uprising occurs, it kind of gives a pathway to the police being more violent, right-wing extremists being more violent. And let's be frank, when it comes to violence, the state has a monopoly, and the right-wingers, they're the stronger in the violence. They're smaller in numbers, but they're much stronger when it comes to using violence as a tool. This is known, right? They are more prone to violence. They see it as an invite when the left. I'm gonna label the protesters as the left. When the left acts out in a violent way, it not only appeases the neo-fascist regime because they get to use their weaponry, but it also it feeds right-wing extremists because now they have a good reason. Hey, let's attack these communists, right? That's what they call all leftists. You could be a Joe Biden and you're a communist, right? So it worries me. That was like more of a comment than a question.
Well, if you to add on to the comment that you just made, I think language matters here, and as long as we keep on saying left, it is going to be scary, left versus right. But scientifically, if we use the word bottom, we see that there is more in the bottom than there is on the top. So I just want to throw that out.
Yeah, like proletariat, for instance, the working class. That's a more appeasing. But what I'm saying is ideological. I use these terms because this is where we can transition, and because what we've seen recently in what was it, Wisconsin, Kenosha, Wisconsin, Kyle Rittenhouse, he killed three individuals, right? He killed he killed two individuals, injured one, right? And then not only him, but then you see, I think it was Michael Renhall. He was an Antifa or Black Lives Matter supporter in Portland, Oregon. He killed a Trump supporter. And then I forgot where else there was a bodyguard who shot a Trump supporter that was spraying mace at people. A security guard ended up killing that man. So right, when I say left, I mean these dynamics of ideologies. The left is protesting for Black Lives Matter, stopping a fascist regime, and the right, they're defending the state. They're defending the police. Some of them are saying we're defending property. A lot of times they might be, but then a lot of them are just supportive of Donald Trump and the police state. So that's why I use that language, and it just worries me. But what are your thoughts on this back and forth of killing each other? Isn't that the product of the arising civil unrest? And won't it get worse?
So your question is, will it get worse, or what do you
Right.
mean?
So because this is being accepted as normal, attacks on the police or defense against police, attacking property, attacking right wingers or Trump supporters, you name it, militias, because it's becoming normal, and it's like, well, it's the resistance. Civil disobedience is important, and because we're accepting that, isn't that a dangerous approach? Because the state is going to come harder as a neo-fascist regime, or the right-wing militia groups or Trump supporters are going to take matters into their own hands. Won't it get worse if we keep taking this approach that this civil disobedience is necessary, kind of thing? You know what I'm saying? Like, is the rioting necessary? The self-defense against Trump supporters necessary? Isn't that making things much worse? And won't it get worse as we keep doing this? Sorry that I load the question up.
I don't know. I don't know. I feel like it's gonna be, we will have a new wave of consciousness, where if we can invest in schools, or even in private schools, just have it as a curriculum, like critical thinking, right? If we can invest more in classes that promote critical thinking, then perhaps we will close the gap that we keep on seeing. I feel like we're gonna have to, and it's not just investing in like black and brown schools anymore. It's like we have to educate these white kids. We have to let them know where they come from, and we have to just lay out the truth, because we can educate black and brown kids all day, but if we don't start educating and enforcing these curriculums with like the real history, right, in their schools, then again, we're gonna keep on seeing parents raise his kids. So it has to be a new wave of consciousness. That's all I could say about it.
Yeah, no, I agree. So, for instance, the Donald Trump and his administration and the people that share his ideology, they're afraid of your idea. I don't know if you've seen within the past month, Donald Trump wants to push an American propaganda for education. I forget what he calls it. I'm going to call it American propaganda because he wants to stop educators from telling the truth because it teaches children to hate America and to hate the idea of the United States even existing, and it hurts a nation. So I can see what you're saying because we need to inform the public, but that's not really the crucial step needed, right? For me, I think systemically there needs to be a close of the wealth gap. People need to be able to live a prosperous life and not just live off the bare necessities, right? Relative poverty is real, right? While Americans have it better in their impoverished lives compared to other countries that live in poverty. So like there's absolute poverty and then there's relative poverty. Americans are relatively living in poverty and more are sinking into that. I think that's a system that's needed because I can say, we could teach black and brown kids all day. And we do already. I work in a school system. Um, some of those kids, they see the importance, but some of them are like, they're indifferent. They're complacent. How does this help my life? I still feel trapped. I still feel like no one gives a damn about me. My history shows me they didn't care about me. My current shows people don't care about me. My future, who's going to care about me? And so people of color, minorities in impoverished neighborhoods, they end up doing things that end up hurting themselves in the long run. So, yeah, to your education point, yeah, maybe I think that's what white families, Christian evangelicals, they're afraid of that, the browning of America, uh, the erasing of their history, right? So, where do you stand on Mount Rushmore?
You said where do I stand on Mount
Yeah,
Rushmore?
should Mount Rushmore be taken down?
Um, should it be taken down? Of course. It's like in the levels of like false idols or statues. Like that's like the master, like the boss. It's like you gotta work your way up there.
And the statue's eyes open and they turn into laser beams and they shoot you.
Oh,
But no, but so
but
go ahead.
do they let sorry to cut you off? Do they let people walk on top of the statues? Like, is it like a site where people can like go up on, or do they only get to see it from a distance?
You know what? Don't
You know.
quote me, but based on Hollywood and Hollywood alone, you're not supposed to be on the statues, but you can see from a distance. That way you can see the whole thing. Don't quote me though. I've never been. I don't know. It's nothing that I've ever been like ooh. But let's talk about that a little bit, right? Um, I love how you put that the boss level status. It's the final boss, right? The Americans, they're
My friend Stuart just came up with that one. It's
people. I'm sorry, but people aren't there. Like you said, this wave of consciousness needs to develop, right? In order for that to happen, people aren't there now, and I don't know if they're gonna ever be there, because that is the founding of the country, and it sounds like if you get rid of those statues, I think there's one good reason to get rid of them, and it's not for the symbolic reason, but symbolically, America, people in America will be offended. They'll be offended that they're attacking this symbol that represented the founding of their nation and the evolution of their nation. So yeah, I think people are gonna. I'm honestly, I'm not sold. I'm not sold on Christopher Columbus. Fuck him. Who is Robert E. Lee? Fuck him. Confederate people, who cares? Losers. Mount Rushmore, even though they have racist heads, I don't know if I'm there. I don't know because eventually, why not just get rid of the American flag? Why not just get rid of that?
There is this like one really good meme that was like, well, you know how like these like Trump conservatives are oh, not to bash anyone specifically, but just uh um so anyway, the meme itself says if they think everything is fake news, just wait until they find out the history. And it just again it was a meme, but it's a reminder that like uh, there was already people living here. What the hell?
Right, and you have a great idea, or a very controversial idea that I want to explore. This is a good segue. Um, this kind of moves away from the civil unrest, but it's related, right? So the statues is from what I heard. The Mount Rushmore statue was built on native territory, on native lands, and that mountainside was supposed to be, indigenous land. And so there's been this historical dispute that should have never happened. So I think that's one of the legitimate claims that I could hear and understand. But what goes along with trying to widen our consciousness and come into a new vision for America is this idea I've seen on indigenous people of Mexican descent, especially. I don't know too many natives, indigenous folks of the Americas, like the U.S. Americas, but for Mexican indigenous folks, people that relate to your father and his ancestors, they say the land should be returned to its original inhabitants. And I'm thinking they're making that claim in South Africa. In South Africa, a lot of the let's just say the black South, the original inhabitants of South Africa, the black South Africans, they want the white South Africans, the colonizers, to pretty much give up their land, and give it to the South Africans, the black South Africans, the original inhabitants. That's going to cause massive violence. Those ideas is why the WASPs, the white Anglo-Saxon Protestants, that's why they're afraid. They're afraid the moment they come closer to being a minority is the moment the new majority is going to do whatever the hell they want. Right? Is that a legitimate fear based on what we're talking about?
That we'll treat them like they treated us.
Yeah, yeah, right? I mean, because there's a lot of disdain towards white folks these days. Some people are just being very critical. Others, they don't like white people. White is a generic term. Right? There's Italians, Polish, Germans, Ukrainians. You could go on. I just named 3 or 4.
Right. I like what you said earlier about it being more about class, and I want to kind of bring that conversation back. I think when again the whole language of the word white, like you said, we're talking about different lineages, but when we say the word white, automatically we think of higher status. So it's white is no longer like nationality. It's like a status or yeah. So when we start talking about land back, it you mentioned even like Mexicans. Like there's some indigenous. There was I don't remember where specifically I read this, It was probably like a meme, but it said all Mexicans are natives. It's like that is true. Um, we are native um, to the land. Like we already know how like a lot of our states now used to belong to Mexico, so we know that to be a fact. Um, so anyway,
Right, you're talking about whiteness, like being this kind of this status. Being white is a status, but it's kind of harmful because it keeps us divided, right? That's why I think in terms of the class struggle, the Marxist theory, right? Not being a Marxist, but there's something about classism that's this umbrella idea that keeps us apart when you throw in identity factors like race, religion, creed, ethnicity. It divides us. I think we should identify strongly, but when we carry those identities like a badge, it keeps us separate. It keeps us from understanding one another. And I think that's what's happening with the Black Lives Matter movement. You know, white centric folks, they see that as offensive, and it's perplexing to me because you can have an Italian rights movement in history, and I wonder were people like, yo, why only the Italians? Yeah, they probably were, dude. Right? So yeah, these identities are very destructive. I just fear that if we keep playing identitarian politics, like the way white America has taught us to play, we're gonna end up losing more than we gain. Uh, that's why the civil unrest is continuing because it's almost like we're talking past each other. Uh, I'm worried, so I'm not gonna start disavowing people who commit acts of violence, especially if it's part of the resistance, because state violence is real. It's concerning to me because Lewis, you being on the front lines and giving your body up, you know, that's I have no words. Like I care for people, and the fact that you're giving up your body for something that you believe in, it's very important. But I'm worried how many more people have to get hurt. I don't know if there's an answer to that, and the people that are willing to put themselves on the line, it seems like there's no number that stops us from continuing this movement, and that's what's scary. Because I'm not gonna be on the front lines throwing ice bottles at cops. I'm just not gonna do it. Now, if there was like a civil war, the U.S. government versus the American people, you're damn right. I'm gonna stand with the American people, so long as the American people aren't some fascist regime trying to overthrow the U.S. government. But if it's about liberation, I'm down for it. But it just seems that. Do you believe in gun rights for people? Not for yourself, just for people. Do you believe people should have?
I think this is the first time where I'm going to come out saying that I don't think restricting guns is the answer at the moment. With technology advancing, we can now 3D print guns. So I don't think that stopping guns is necessarily the answer. Again, it goes back to the whole critical thinking perspective. Yeah. But why do you ask?
Brilliant assessment. The reason why I ask is because we're going essentially. That I keep using this terminology. The progressive individuals, that the revolutionaries of our times, what I call the left wing of politics, they're almost declaring war on the state because the state has been constantly using violence against our people. It's clear, so it's almost a call for self-defense. Offensively, a call for self-defense. So I can see that. But we're going to war, and our side doesn't believe in guns the way that the right side does, the way that the state does. So we're not prepared. We will lose this battle if it comes down to sticks of spears and stones, as you said, right? We lose that battle. That's I keep coming back to that. That's what makes me extremely worried. Our side doesn't even believe in guns the way that the other side does, or the way the state uses the guns against our people. So, I kind of want to, unless you have something to say about that, I kind of want to transition because it was about guns and our side not having guns. Like Cicero, little village households, how many families have legal firearms? Not illegal, legal firearms.
Yeah, man. The only thing I want to say about that is one of my he's a friend. He's also we've my mom's been cleaning his house for a long time, for like 15 years, and I've been working for him for like a while too. Like I cut his grass, I do a lot of yard work. He told me that his sister, I think in Arizona, um, she has over 300 guns. Like they've been stocking up because they fear that the government will come and try to take away their guns. So they're piling up.
That's
Um,
scary.
and yeah, it is scary. And he was telling me this while we were having lunch. He was predicting a civil war. He's all for Trump. He's like, yeah, he's like, there's gonna be another civil war, so we're just getting ready. But then again, the I had to tell myself something so I didn't feel like the world was ending. So I just said, man, like at least we got each other. Like my mom cooked for him because he was feeling under the weather. He lives by himself. Again, they're very individualistic people. When we study them, they are very they're individuals who they value their individuality. Right. That's the whole uh, part of assimilating in the the higher you go in this class uh, pyramid, the more individualistic you
Yeah.
become. Um, but anyway,
Well, that's very true.
my mom
Very
cooked.
true. I like how you put that. Right. The higher we go in the wealth
Yeah,
status of American culture, the more we become this kind of insulated, isolated individual, and we kind of get separated from the family, the culture, and we're all about ourselves suddenly. I love how you put that. Yeah.
cap. Yeah. So what I wanted to say about that is that my mom was making him like soup, and then he was like, "Oh, like how much is it?" She was like, "No, don't worry about it. Like this is like you don't have like my mom's." Yeah, it was like he's starting to see like the warmth that we have. He like yeah, just what we have, what poor people have, what people on the bottom have is we have um community. We have community, and we outnumber them. We actually do. You were talking about why they break us up into different categories. It's because if they see that it's more of us than them, then we'll probably like go for the funding. But they try to break us down to like smaller margins.
Yeah.
But it's more of us.
Definitely. Yeah, despite all my fears, let's stick. I want to finish off with a segment. We could go on for hours, and we might, but this is gonna be an important segment that I kind of want to talk to you about and get your perspective. Um, I joke around a lot with people. I consider myself a radical leftist. I do that because of the political spectrum, and it's funny because people want to call me names, and I embrace it. Call me as many names as you want. It doesn't win an argument. But there's what's happening right now across different cities in America is the destruction of property. And you have the Kyle Rittenhouses and these militias coming out saying we have to defend property, and the other side is saying human life matters more than property. By defending property, you're disregarding the state violence perpetuated on human life. We might be destroying property. Well, it's because you disregard human life within our community. You see us as subhuman. So I kind of want to get this perspective from you about, why is it okay that property can be a target of civil unrest, civil disobedience? Or why is it not okay?
Yeah, man. Before I answer that question, I have the comments here pulled up, and Suli um, said that there's like echoing coming from your mic.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe I can hear you just fine though, but maybe I don't know where your mic is. I'm not sure if it's part of your headset, but I just want to throw that out there. So in regards to the destruction of property, um, it's a strategy. That's how we get their attention. Um, it's it's how we get the attention. Otherwise, they'll just brush us off like they've been doing. Um, I mean, I don't know what else to say about it. Um, it it's a symbol of their true philosophy. Again, they've put whenever whenever our people die, they don't. Again, I think the Joker said this. They don't even like bat an eye. They don't care if we're on the street. They don't care about the homelessness outside. That it's what, maybe 20 degrees outside. In Chicago, we start seeing negative or below zero, and there's people outside sleeping in benches, and people they'll drive past by in their Teslas, not even look at them twice, or they'll justify it. They'll say, oh well, they probably just made horrible decisions in life. Again, and it's always down to the it's always their fault, but it's never. Um, they refuse to see what is in front of them. The problems with capitalism, again, and they probably don't even. They're probably not even in the close 10% of like the top of the pyramid. They're probably like not so far from I guess a couple steps or a couple decisions from being bankrupt. I'm talking about regular people driving in nice cars and ignoring what's going on. So it's not until there's destruction of property that will get their attention, and then maybe say, am I valuing property right now? Is this why I'm mad? And they start experiencing what we're experiencing. However, they've put property before people, and that's always going to be capitalism. Property before people. And unfortunately, until we change that, until the city recognizes the death of people in poor communities as relevant as the destruction of a Starbucks in I don't know, the Gold Coast, until they see that there is a difference in a life that has there's no price to it. Uh, I don't know. I feel like I definitely have to work on my presentation on that, like on how to express myself with that. It's mostly coming from just anger because it's what I started noticing again. My the people that I grew up with, my friends, my childhood friends, they're the ones that are posting the destruction of property. They're the ones that are posting again these young people in looting. Right? They keep on posting that. They keep on posting that, but they don't post when they kill our people. They don't post that, and it's the same people who I don't know. I imagine the woman in their or not just the woman. It's they. I started noticing that a lot of my friends who consider themselves believers of Christ, that look like me, they dye their hair blonde. It's like I think that's the first symbol of like how to spot them. You know, when they dye their hair blonde. Like I don't want to say that's like the answer to spot them, but I am gonna say it might be like they're trying to show us that they're trying to simulate, and there's like a whole culture behind that. After that, I think you had mentioned something that like they're not really. Oh man, I want to digress from this conversation. I feel like I'm all over the place right now, but
Well, yeah.
when it comes to sorry,
No,
go
well,
ahead.
I'll
Leave it
I'll
at
try
that.
to connect it for you, right? So, what's been going on for America is the individual has been at the center focus, and what that individual should be modeled after is essentially the white supremacist narrative. The white supremacist narrative is in almost embedded in American capitalism. All right. Once again, I don't say white supremacy as a form of hatred. I say it more as more a dominant narrative, a dominant culture, and so property is something that the individual can celebrate as a value to their life, and with that identity and that belonging, you kind of want to resemble the rest of America. So yeah, I can see what you're saying, and it's actually factual that evangelical Christians, many of them, well, Trump doesn't embody their Christian values. He embodies the things that they care about, what it means to be American, right? This is a Christian nation, right? Free markets reign over all, individual liberty over a collective progress. So yeah, I could see where you're connecting. Trust me, I could rant on as well and see how I might lose myself, but it's relevant. Um, Go ahead.
Can I, if I may, I really, I'm enjoying this conversation. I think from the way you put it, I was able to envision pretty much materialistic objects kind of being like you said. I forgot how you phrased it, but it was pretty much materialistic objects are sort of the illusion of the American dream, right? So there's steps towards the American dream. So again, there's your car, there's your house, right, with the nice lawn. There's your small business, right? You wanna go up and up the ladder, but once that starts getting taken away from you, once they break through your glass, your through your 7-Eleven, once they destroy your car, once they I don't know, say they started destroying things around the neighborhood, like it's kind of like waking you up from that American dream, right? And you start realizing, whoa, this is a nightmare actually. And it's like we bring them back to reality, like, yo, this is where we're at. You're living the American dream, but guess what? A lot of us aren't. And until we all sort of until there's a balance, this is gonna keep on happening. Again, it was I feel like, of course, the pandemic had a lot to do with this, where like there's so much energy being contained in homes where like it just sprung out, right? It's all this energy that got built up and stored up. It just came out, and oh, I lost my track on that one, but pretty much. Sorry, continue.
No, it's okay.
I lost my
All
track.
right, so let's stick with that identity part about it. Um, I wanna stay on that property notion, right? This is, I know people who own businesses. You know people who own businesses. Those mom and pop shops. I'll be honest. Part of me sympathizes with the Walmarts and the Targets because they're human. But then the other part of me is like, you know what? They're corporations. Whatever, dude. Get over it. Stop exploiting labor. But then here I come, the existentialist and in me, questioning the narrative of the day. Tell me what you think about this. Property, property, isn't that like a human right? Shouldn't the preservation of one's livelihood be a human right? So if I own a business, that's the preservation of my life. That's what sustains me. That's my human right around the world. It's just a universal thing. I should be able to sustain myself and everything that's mine so I can live freely and safely. What do you think about that?
Uh, it was a queer speaker who said this. I don't remember the name of the speaker, but the pursuit of happiness, right? That's a right or a liberty. Actually, it's a right. The pursuit of happiness. That's what they're claiming. What this leader said is some of us are still stuck at the life liberty part. We haven't even gotten through that, and that's sort of um, what we're shouting. That's what we're shouting. We're still stuck at the life, trying to stay alive part, and the whole liberty part, because a lot of us don't have the resources for the actual freedom. If we're talking about maybe we're past slavery already, okay, but the federal minimum wage is not enough to sustain a family. So now we're talking about they want you to work these 40 hours a week and that's already a blessing because a lot of people have died for workers'
labor,
rights.
yeah.
But even now it's not enough because they've kept us at that level where again they're not paying us living wages. So while they're talking about the pursuit of happiness, we're talking about our freedom. We're talking about our right to live.
Can I shorten it?
And that's exactly what the
Can
is
I
about.
shorten it in a phrase? It's almost like the protest chant. If we
Please do.
don't get it, shut it down. Right.
Down.
So that's like kind of that phrase. I want to give a quick shout out because I want to keep talking about property, and it's my fault because I was so engaged in this conversation and
Our sponsors.
yeah, the people that have been commenting. I'm sorry that I didn't bring you up. A shout out. Let's give a shout out to Alberto Le Rodriguez. I think that's a friend of Luis. He says, "What's up?" Salazar Jesus.
He started.
What was it?
I'm sorry. He started a community farm in Gage Park, but I'll talk about that later, or I'll post it, whatever. But
Shout out Alberto
sorry,
Le
keep going.
Rodriguez. Thank you for starting a community farm. Salazar Jesus, a common listener, always has comments. Thank you for chiming in. And then we have Sully. Sully is a frequent commenter, and actually anarchist and the Marlboro Man are going to invite me on their podcast, the Wham Radio podcast. So we'll be talking to them about some libertarian ideals, not libertarian, I'm sorry, some anarchy, some anarchical kind of concepts with them. So please tune into that. But thank you for chiming in and speaking. I will address your comments, but I really want to go with this conversation about property rights because yes, what the protests are trying to show is look, we're trying to show you the disparities. We're trying to show you that the state has not been there, has not represented us. And if there's no representation, right, that's not democratic. That's not a republic anymore. So the social contract is broken. So civil disobedience is the tool for you to finally recognize, right? That's what you were saying. They're not paying attention. Okay, how about this? We light your business on fire. We light the capitalist system on fire. How about you start paying attention now? We're going to go down Wall Street Avenue and we're going to show you that your monetary system, if it doesn't work for all of us, then we're going to disrupt it, right? That's kind of what I'm hearing you say, and I've heard a lot of people create that narrative around. Now, the property, if those protesters and this movement has validity to what they're saying, what about the validity to the people that still have the right to preserve what is theirs, their livelihood? That is a human right. I have to take that back because that's what concerns me. It concerns me the way that the violence concerns me. These people, do they not have is their human rights secondary? Secondary when a collective of people are obviously living in the margins. So the black community, the Latino community, you name it, right? Is the property right as a human right? Does that secondary to the disparities of these collective groups?
I think we have more in common with or actually small business owners have more in common with the poor people in the working class than they do with the 1%, like huge corporations. So, I mean, these small businesses operate and they benefit from working with the people. So I think it's mostly like it was okay. For example, like during the riots, we heard Nike was very vocal about it, and for the first time ever, they were like they changed their slogan or their motto to for the first time we're asking you not to do it. But it's like they're saying that when it came down to they're pretty much telling us like if you're planning on rioting and like cracking our windows and stealing our shoes, don't do it. That's what they meant. So when we're talking about all these like you're talking about Walmart again, I think the criticism with Walmart has been that they're not giving their employees a living wage. So they've been working 40 hours and more, and still has to get government assistance. So while Walmart profits off the labor, right? They're enjoying the socialism, while we're they say this country's already socialistic, but again, for the rich.
Wait, can I get a fun fact in
So
there? I'm sorry for
absolutely.
throwing you off because I don't want to throw your train off. But fun fact, Walmart actually trains its employees to know how to go on welfare. They actually tell their employees, here's how you apply to government welfare. And a lot of time when Walmart comes in your community, they're subsidized. Taxpayers put up revenue for Amazons and the Walmarts to come in their communities. So you're right, it's socialism for the rich and rugged individualism for the poor. But sorry for throwing you off.
That was so well put. It was poetic. Um, yeah. Like there was this one bill that was introduced by the senator of Vermont, Sanders. I believe he was the one that proposed the Jeff Bezos bill for every employee who.
Uh-oh. Did we lose Luis? Luis. Come back. Okay, folks, I think we lost Luis because he is on a... Wait. You might be...
Bezos bill.
Oh. Oh, hey, I lost you. I lost you for a second. You froze.
Okay.
But you're right. Stop Bezos Act was pushed by Ro Khanna in the House, and I believe Sanders, Vermont senator, puts it in the Senate, in which it pretty much was demanding that they pay their workers a living wage. And then all of a sudden, Amazon, they lifted up their minimum wage. Ro Khanna and Sanders were never successful in passing legislation, but the political pressure caused Amazon to act. Yep, Stop Bezos Act. Right. So I'm sorry, because you got cut off. Were you saying more?
No, I'm glad that you're well informed on this bill.
Yeah, I'm a dork. I wish I knew how to build a house, but I'm into politics.
Same, man. Same.
Right. So here I hear you, right, and I think what needs to happen is that these businesses in any community, there needs to be a more connective, a larger connectivity, right? These people that are in these communities, those businesses should have greater relations with their local community members, right? That way, if you are protesting in a neighborhood, and imagine these people are just pissed off and they're trying to show that the system doesn't work for them, and they see a building that's a small business, not a Walmart or a Nike, but it's a small business that they recognize, hey, that's Joey's, or that's Rick's business, and everyone's like, well, screw Rick, and then there's still people there that are like, hold on, Rick is one of us. They're more like us working class people. They're more like us low income people. We need to influence them, persuade them that we need to stand up to the giants, the corporations. But when they decide to burn down a local business, it loses credibility to the movement. Because you stop recognizing that property is a human right. The preservation of that property is a human right. That's where my feelings are mixed, because I don't want to discredit the movement, but I think the movement and people involved in the movement, they're doing that. They're hurting it. So what do you think about, like, not Kyle Rittenhouse specifically, but the militia groups that were in Wisconsin? They were standing guard, and they just told protesters, hey, I seen some videos. They're like, hey, if you want to destroy government property, go for it. You're mad at the government? I'm with you. But don't destroy this business. And some of the protesters were like, F you, you're pieces of shit. You don't stand with us. What do you think about those guys? Because I think they might have a point.
I wish I could talk shit about those people as easily um, as I want to. But the reason that I stepped back a bit, I called my friend Vladimir before this conversation. My friend Vladimir, he lives in Cicero. He's a very close friend of mine. We're very close. I see him as we have a relationship like a brother, like brother to brother. Like I know I can count on him, and vice versa. Uh, Actually, he showed me a picture 2 weeks prior to my incident. He was in a riot in Cicero, and someone threw a brick at his face. So in the picture, his face is covered in blood. I forgot to mention that he's conservative and that he supports Trump. And we always like just go back and forth, just roasting each other on where we stand. But at the end of the day, that's my brother. And again, when we talk about a civil war, it's going to be brother versus brother, um, and that's a civil war, brother versus brother, right? Like we've seen in history. Um, and again, the beauty in civil war is the ability to prevent it. With Vladimir being one of my closest friends, I didn't know that 2 weeks after, the same thing was going to happen to me, where we would have identical pictures of two people in different from different perspectives, with blood on their face, standing up for what they believe in. Right then and there, again, I have to take a step back. Again, this is why anybody that sees me like as like a leader or role model, I tell them I'm not the one. I'm not the one you're looking for, because I I want to be someone who pretty much, I don't know, owe anyone an explanation, but I just do what I believe is right. Of course, I owe my son an explanation, but if anybody wants to stone me for saying that a Trump supporter is my brother, then they can stone me. But Vladimir is a close friend of mine, and I just cannot see myself going to war with him. I'd rather him kill me if he has to. But I don't think he would. Hopefully he doesn't. Vladimir, if you're watching this, just know where I stand. I wouldn't kill you.
Don't kill each other.
But
Please.
But man, we have to. Yeah, they have the right to protect their property, but again, once I think that's how a civil war might start. People protecting their property, and we're gonna clash right then and there. But again, it's just us killing each other, while again the top aren't even getting touched. It's Vladimir is just as poor as I am, and again, we're in this war that we don't even want to be in. Um, he teaches my son how to dance, Vladimir's a huge raver, and my son is too. So it's like, I don't know, man. It's hard.
Right.
I get it. You have a business. You work day in and day out to provide. And I just want to say that again, in Exodus, when there was a plague going on, when the people of Egypt were getting ready for the revolution, there was a plague that would come to your door and would kill, like I believe, like the oldest of your sons, unless you had the mark of like God, or like the mark of resistance, and the symbol was blood. I believe it was the blood of like a sacrificed lamb. So in order for this plague not to come into your home, it would have to put red blood on their door, and those who did were part of the revolution. So I don't know, maybe businesses should start advocating, hey, this business is a business that supports Black lives, and then maybe see the difference. Maybe we should pay attention to, for example, back of the yards coffee shop house. They have really fancy coffee machine makers, like the espresso machines. I don't know. They look very tempting to go ahead and grab one of these days. However, they didn't lock their windows. They said, we're in the south side. They're on 47th, like right next to back of the yards college prep. But they decided not to put up those plywood boards, because they said, well, if it happens, it's gonna happen. But we still support Black Lives Matter, no matter what. And there was several businesses who took that stance. So we always tell the losers, right, or the people who lose You got to be the bigger person. But why don't we tell the businesses, hey, sometimes you got to be the bigger person, right? We got to tell the we got to tell the oppressor as well as the one who got oppressed. You got to be the bigger person. So in this businesses, the only thing I can suggest, and it might not work, is maybe start putting up some science to let us know that you hear us, that you see us, that you acknowledge us, and maybe then we could get the data later to see how many businesses were destroyed versus the ones who didn't do that. That's all I can say about it.
So I want to just say that Vladimir, if you're listening, but anyone who wants to stone Lewis for befriending or considering a Trump supporter a brother, if you stone him or want to stone him, I will stand in front of him. So you would have to stone me before you stone Lewis, right? Because that's a powerful statement. The racists or the opposition of our political ideologies, they're still our brothers and sisters, and we need to humanize them, not dehumanize them. I know that politics for many people is the fight for our livelihood, right? The way that property rights is a preservation, the resistance and the movement is trying to establish the humanity of so many people in America. I just want to comment. So let's get in some last comments for this, Lewis. It seems what you said, I like it in the sense that you kind of recognize an ally. I just don't like sometimes the way capitalism it creates these market symbols to show that there were progressive movements, like the NBA. The NBA and their jerseys, they say Black Lives Matter. They say on their jersey they'll say equity, and they'll say these powerful things. But I'm just in my mind, I'm like, I have this one song. It's called Rap Riot. You can find it on SoundCloud. Rap Riot, Tony B for Prez. That's a shameless plug. I say that Black Lives Matter strictly for business, and what I am implying with that statement is that the capitalist system will use these social movements for their profits. When they contribute nothing to the actual movement, but they decide to use these slogans, I think it only perpetuate a system that does more harm than good. So I do want a business to be a recognizable ally, but maybe there's more than just creating little symbols. Maybe there's something about creating platforms and space for people, sharing a common ground with people. But I'm also worried, and then Lewis, I'll let you get the last word on this. I'm also worried about the mob, and this can be on the fascist side or the anti-fascist side. I fear the mob will bully people into believing what they believe in. And I don't know if you've seen the videos, but it's in one, I forgot what city it was, but there was a Black Lives Matter protest going on, and some of these protesters, they went into this outside dining area, and they started telling the people that were sitting in the dining area, put your fist up. Let me get my fist in there. Put your fist up and say Black Lives Matter. Some people were doing it. Some of the white folks in that dining area, they were doing it. They put their fist up and they said Black Lives Matter. Other people, they were just continuing to eat. They were ignoring the protesters, and the protesters started shaming them. They started yelling at them with bullhorns. They got really close during the pandemic, right, in their face. And I'm thinking, I want those people to be in solidarity with the movement, but is that tactic wise? Is the mob mentality to bully people into your persuasion the right thing? I think that's one of the problems with a leaderless movement. I'm not against leaderless movements, but that's kind of one of the flaws, that these independent actors in a movement, they create a mob mentality, and they hurt credibility of the movement itself. You get the last word, sir.
Wow. Um. Oh, if I would understand if they didn't raise their hand, like I don't like getting told what to do either. Um, I don't think that's necessarily the answer, but it's a strategy. Um, so again, personally, uh, again, if some even if it's something that I believed in it, and someone was forcing me, like when people try to force me to dance, I don't like it. Even if someone's like forced me to dance, and they've told me like the benefits of dancing and what it does to your brain and how like you'll be a happier person. But I told them I don't want to dance. Some people are naturally introverted. Consideration. Um, However, I would say it's not the worst thing. Can it be more efficient? Probably. Like if we're talking about conserving energy, we could probably do something that where we can hold them accountable to their actions. To like you were saying, maybe not just doing what a lot of big corporations do, like big businesses, and just say Black Lives Matter to sell even more things. Because at the end of the day, if their managerial staff is still only I don't know, majority white, right? And it's not like until like a couple ranks lower where we start seeing like I guess actually minorities being hired, then we're not really gonna like Nike isn't. I don't want to just bash Nike. There's many more out there, but specifically Nike, like. Um, Again, they were going with Black Lives Matter hashtags and everything, but at the end of the day, their leadership it's still mostly white. So I think those are the type of things we should be concentrating on, like the actual policy, the actual um, the data. We should go after the data. That's what we should be focusing on. That's if we want to be I don't even know what pragmatic means. Efficient. If we want to be efficient, but again, the revolution will not just survive of efficiency, but also with I guess the power of the punch. So again, two different sides. There's enough fuel to spark up a civil war. So um, I it's right or wrong.
Ah, sorry. I
Sorry,
almost
man.
died. I
It's okay.
almost died on a live stream. That would not have
No,
been a
don't
good
die.
sight. Okay, Lewis, I appreciate you coming on today. Viewers, thank you for talking solely. You are on fire. I wish I had a larger attention span so I can engage with the comments that are coming in. But Lewis, you did a great service. I really want to have you back on the show so we can talk about more revolutionary ideas, not just focus on the movement itself, but the ideas of the future and how do we awaken the consciousness. So this is the Existentialists. This is what we're about. We're about having hard conversations. It's difficult as it is. We need to have them. So, for instance, if you want to invite your Trump supporting friend, I'm more than welcome anyone to discuss these type of ideas and topics. Everyone listening, catch this on YouTube. You can subscribe to us on YouTube, The Existentialists, and make sure to like us on Facebook, The Existentialists. Comment, share, DM me if you really want to engage in one of these conversations the way Lewis was willing. And I embrace anyone's passion. So if you want to talk about something, go for it. But Lewis, do you want to give any shout outs, any recognitions today?
Sure. Yeah. My friend Jose Vinansaka, uh, he uh, he majored in psychology and he has a heart and passion for the mental health system overall. He sees that as a path towards, I guess, the betterment of our people. And I myself, I don't know too much about psychology, but I know Jose's lifestyle. Um, he's because he's been through it. He has like experience with actual like mental issues. He knows what it's like. So for someone to come from that place and to say I want to help others going through it, I'm all for it. So if anybody knows Jose Beninsaka, or I maybe you can post him in the comments later on. He's doing great work, and he wants to bring it to the Cicero Berwyn area. He's currently working with a already big organization. He would tell me about this one job he wanted to get. Like, he was telling me about this like 3 years ago, and he finally got it. It took him a while. He was working at like the airport for a while, um, and it was like it almost took a detour in his life. But I'm glad that he's back doing what he loves, and what he's passionate about. That's his devotion. So again, I'm happy to work with him. Again, I'm always open to work with people and have coffee with people who don't agree with me. And I think if everybody agreed, life would be really boring. But anyway, um, Jose reached out because he wants to bring this locally, and I'm all for it. Anybody that wants to be involved in the mental health field of even just supporting something and make it come to life. You don't have to be an expert. Let's talk.
Beautifully said. Thank you, Lewis. Lewis is from the West Englewood neighborhood. He's a proud father. We will have you again, Lewis, if you love to. We would love to have you. For the book lovers, we have a mention from Sully. Fire in the Minds of Men. Read it. It's related to the topics we're talking about. That is Fire in the Minds of Men, if you're a book reader. And of course, make sure election night is coming. If you don't agree with any of the politics of today, I understand. I say vote fair tax, yes on fair tax. It's up to you if you're Biden or Trump. I am so against Trump. I don't like Biden. But vote in local elections at the very least. Remember, November 3rd is the last day that is election night. We are hosting a live election coverage. Me and my partner Miguel, this guy right there, we'll be hosting a live coverage event for the election November 3rd, so please tune into that. We'll have some guests on to talk about the election and the possibilities of what will happen if Biden wins or Trump wins. Remember, this is the Existentialists. Subscribe to us on YouTube, like us on Facebook. Lewis, thank you, sir. It's been a pleasure.